honor of Veterans Day, I'd like to introduce you to today's speaker, Seymour Kaplan. He's here to talk about his experience in World War II. Thank you, Mr. Kaplan, for being here. The Jewish Society connected with Mr. Kaplan through the Holocaust Memorial and Tolerance Center of Nassau County. Mr. Kaplan grew up in Brooklyn, and at 17 years old, he enlisted in the Army and went to fight against Nazi Germany. He became a machine gunner with the 692nd Tank Destroyer Battalion, attached to the 42nd Infantry Division. At the end of the war, in April 1945, he was one of the first American soldiers to enter Dachau concentration camp. As a Yiddish speaker, Mr. Kaplan served as a translator for the camp survivors, and as you can imagine, the shock of what he witnessed along with the other soldiers was traumatizing. When he returned home to New York, he established a garment manufacturing company, eventually retired, and then began a second career as a teacher. He's a mental health advocate and has been honored by the National Alliance on Mental Illness. For me, Mr. Kaplan being here is extremely personal and special, because not only because I also grew up in Brooklyn, but I was born in Eastern Europe, and my grandmother, who I was very close with, my mom's mom, who is here today, shout out to Mom. The three of us were really, really close. She was rescued from camp in Germany when she was 22 years old, and she was rescued by American soldiers. So thank you, Mr. Kaplan, for being here. Thank you for everything, and without further ado.
The situation is, I'm going to tell you about people who paid the ultimate price, and it's difficult for me to accept applause, because I'm an agent. I'm telling you what they lived through. They deserve the applause of people who lived through what you're going to hear about. Very difficult for me to get a group of people your age together and tell you what happened. When I started teaching, I couldn't believe that kids didn't know who we were fighting against in World War II. I'm talking about junior high school and high school kids. So I'm going to give you a little piece of history that there are people busy denying. They say it never happened, so I say I saw it. The people in the camp, when I came in, were screaming at me, was Alaman Zugan, you got to tell everybody. They wanted the world to know. This is the first thing they asked for, that we should tell everybody. They screamed it at the American soldiers. But let me start with what my youth was like with war hanging over our head. We knew that Hitler was a very bad guy. I lived in a Jewish neighborhood with Jewish friends. We all knew that Hitler was killing us. Anything you hear otherwise just isn't true. We just knew it. Refugees were coming in, and they were telling us what was happening in Europe, and they told us how the soldiers came in and grabbed their kids and shot one in front of them. And this is America. We couldn't believe it. We heard it, they said it, we couldn't believe it. But later we saw it, and we still couldn't believe it. We couldn't believe it so much that for 50 years, after I went into that camp, I couldn't believe it. I was there, I saw it, my mind wiped it clean. And it wasn't just me. I go to the VA now, and I used to meet a lot more guys, because we're doing about 30 to 2,000 a day. But it was common for people that had post-traumatic stress disorder. You just wipe it out. It never happened. One of the persons treating me in the VA said to me, "You were in the 42nd?" I said, "No, I was with the tank destroyers, and we were attached to the 42nd. He said, "Well, the 42nd went into Dachau. Didn't they clean it up?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "Well, if you were in the 42nd on April 29, 1944, you were Dachau, and I had no memory of it. Since then, under treatment and meeting with other guys and going to meetings, a lot has come back. But it hasn't come back to me in a linear manner. In other words, I can't say, this is what I did, and then I did this, and then I did this. It comes back to me in spots, like coming attractions in a movie. Just a flash something that happened. Let me take you back to Brooklyn, New York, Vernon Avenue. Punch bowl, two-hand touch. Those were the important things of life. We heard that there was trouble in Europe, and we heard names like Czechoslovakia. Where the hell did that name come from to a bunch of Brooklyn kids? And then we heard Anschluss, and I still remember the names. Speaking to my friends, what does that mean? And our teachers explaining it to us. The important thing about those days is that we knew that something was happening. I don't want to discuss that any further, that particular thing, because then it becomes political. I just want to tell you what I saw and what happened to me. Period. We were playing, a bunch of kids and I were playing two-hand touch in the street. That's a form of football. And when the game was over, my sister, who had a street-level apartment where we were playing in Brooklyn streets, sidewalks and gutters, my sister invited us all in, as was her habit, to have coffee and cookies after the game. There was a a Yankee Dodger football game on the radio, and nobody wanted to miss that because, football. So after the game was over, we went into my sister's house where she had a radio that was this high and that wide, and had the dials, and you could hear the whistles on it to the end. We finally got the football game in, and we all sat around and watched that football game on the radio. It happens. We were there betting, it was a style. While we're watching the game, and it was fascinating, those announcers were great, they made you see it. And while we were watching the game, and we hear the announcer going, he's on the 5, he's on the 15, down to the 25, beep. We interrupt this program to announce that the Japanese have bombed Pearl Harbor. We didn't know what Pearl Harbor was. We didn't know why the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. But what we did know is our lives would absolutely change. Our brothers had already been registered for the draft. A lot of people had been working for war industries because we were providing material. You read about the Lend-Lease program. We were providing war material for Russia, France, England. So we had a feeling for the war, but now we were in it. Roosevelt made that famous speech of, I'll never forget it, I just can't remember. He made that famous speech where he said, I will not send you, well anyway, he made a famous speech. And we knew immediately that we were at war. We were all expecting it. We knew the world was in that shape. And the next day, tons of kids, 18, 19, 20, ran down to enlist. Anybody with a draft card went down, and they asked for immediate induction. In a couple of, at the same time when I made that broadcast, they said, all military personnel report to your post immediately. All officers report to here and here. All those above the rank that were giving out military instructions over the radio, interrupting the football game. A dramatic, terrible thing was happening. so the war was on. There were parades in the streets, support our soldiers, big banners giving all the names from all the kids on the block that were already in service. It was the thing of life. You got up, what's happening, you know. My brother joined immediately. He joined the Marines. And just to skip over a couple of months, he was in the first engagement with the enemy. He was on Guadalcanal. You may have seen stories of Guadalcanal. It was terrible. He was there, and we started seeing casualty lists in our papers. First thing you did, everybody went down and got the paper and looked for somebody to know. I'm just saying that, but it was a tragic thing to have to do every day. My brother's name was Max Kaplan. That's like John Smith in American. And every day they got up and they found a Max Kaplan who had been killed on Guadalcanal. And every day they had to worry. You get me? Every day they had to worry is that their son. Just to give you an idea of what it was like. War sounds so brave. It's really terrible. I was dying to go to war, but I was only 17. I lost all interest in high school. I didn't give a damn about it even. I wanted to get into the war. I came home to my mother, who already had a son there. Told her, Mom, I'm joining. I need your signature. She said, let me say it in Yiddish, then I'll translate. She said, "Ich hab ein Raf from fire. I got one in the fire. I don't need two." I couldn't go in, but I did. I went down to the draft board where I did not need a birth certificate, and I signed up for the draft. Or at that age, I put down 18, immediate induction requested. I checked that part, and in 3 weeks I was in the Army. My mother was furious, but I did what I had to do. I got into the Army. I took my basic training, and in no time, I was at the Brooklyn Piers. You know where that is, on Columbia Street. Standing there in the middle of the night in the rain with Red Cross people giving me donuts, and standing in line and somebody going, and we started to march up a ship. And I got onto that ship knowing this is it. My basic training is over. We drove in from Florida by railroad. That's where my basic training was, and now they're walking me through my town, Brooklyn, onto a ship. And I remember that ship leaving the harbor, and I was looking at the Statue of Liberty, who seemed to be running away from me. I went that way and I went that way. And that symbolism has never left me. Because I never got out of Brooklyn. I never went out of Brooklyn. And now all of a sudden I'm carrying 90 pounds of junk on my back, and I'm saying goodbye to America. And I'm not saying that as my experience. What I'm telling you is the experience I had that was the same as 15 million other kids, and that's a literal number. There were 15 million guys in that. And we sailed away, and now we're soldiers. We had 3 months of basic training, or less. And now we're what the world would call soldiers, except we didn't have a gun yet. The Army didn't have enough guns to go around. So we were on that ship, and we were told we would get our weapons once we hit Europe. This was already after the invasion. I was a latecomer to the war. I wasn't, although I landed at Normandy, that part of the fighting was already over. We got into Normandy. We unloaded from the ships. On the trip overseas, on the tankers, we were building one a week or something. Our production went into full gear. We were knocking out transportation vehicles for soldiers to be brought to Europe. And I went overseas on a former luxury liner, the SS Brazil. It was built to accommodate 600 luxury passengers. We were over 2,000 kids on that boat. Our accommodation was a canvas bed like this that's hanging on 2 poles, 4 up. You had to climb up to get into yours. You could only sleep in it 1 night out of 3 because they didn't have enough beds, so they triple berthed us. And it's the Army. You just do what you're told and you accept it. You know, you complain, you bitch, but you accept it. But it's all part of becoming a soldier. When we got to, we had 2 encounters with submarines. And I remember them rolling tin cans off our ship, the depth charges. And when that depth charge exploded, meaning to hurt the submarines, it shook our boat. You wouldn't believe it. It said, who paid that? You know, whose side are we on? All part of the adventure. We got into Europe, and we were bused. They had buses to take us across the beach, the Omaha beach, you know, the beach and stuff. I don't know what I saw. When you're a baby soldier, you're the dumbest thing on legs. I mean, nobody knows anything. They don't even bother talking to you. This means that way. And an amazing thing, you can hear guns roaring that way, and a guy, and you go. It's like nuts. But that's what training is. We crossed Omaha Beach where we saw the remnants of the tanks and other vehicles and the stuff you see in the movies that that long, but there was no fighting there at that time. He had already secured it evidently years ago. I mean, I got there 44. Omaha Beach was secured in 40. I don't know. I forget the numbers. But there was no danger there. Every now and then a plane flew over, a German plane, and did a little machine gun fire, did some scraping, and went away. They evidently knew, I don't know. I didn't know what happened when it was happening. Now, 50 years, this many, 70 years later, I sure don't know what was happening. But I remember that there was no fear at that point. We were like looking at a movie. Look at that, a burnt out tank. We never had one of mine before. And then we went into an empty building that was made out of stone, no more windows in it. Where there should have been windows, there were just openings. We were told, throw yourself on the floor, lay down, and get yourself a night's sleep. And that's what we did. We threw our stuff down, you know. We woke up and we were told we had to go in and get rifles. And one line at a time went in and they gave us a rifle that was covered with the grease. And we sat there cleaning our rifles, waiting to be assigned into different outfits. While we were there cleaning our rifles, a captain got up on a stand and he gave us advice. He said, you're going to have to take care of yourself, kids. Mama's not here. Papa's not here. Nobody gives a shit. This was a captain in the army. He said, the only one who really cares for you is you. Take care. Do what you're told. Don't be nice guys. Take care of yourself. Keep your gun at all times. I remember him because they almost pulled him down. He wasn't doing this because the Army asked him to. He was already, had seen a lot of combat, and he was not. But he had a message to give us that resonated with me. Next thing I know, we were on cattle cars, what were called 40 and 8s. It was built, they were not military vehicles, they were civilian vehicles. They were railroad trains. Each car was built to accommodate 40 humans or 8 horses. That's how it got the name, 40 and 8s. And with that, we came through France into Alsace-Lorraine. It's a pleasure ride, nothing happened. Kids coming up every time we stopped with their hands out for something. And then we came into the staging area where they called your name, and over there, Kaplan over here, Schwartz over here, Michael over here, and lines began to form. And then those lines were called out, line A. They went on a series of trucks. And from that staging area, we went to a combat outfits. I went to the 692nd Tank Destroyers. These 4 guys had fought their way up from Africa, and they needed a lot of replacements because they had a lot of losses. I was one of their replacements. Another truck brought me to an area where I saw a German soldier sitting on a bench outside, half naked. I saw a couple of American soldiers walking around, and somebody came and brought me in. We came, and there was a captain. We saluted. He said, "No more saluting. That's over. You don't have to tell the enemy that I'm an officer, because they want to kill officers, right? So don't salute me again." Yes, sir. And Captain Floria asked who would rather not go into a frontline combat outfit. And some guys raised their hand. I did. I was hot. I wanted to go in and pay back a little. I was a Jewish kid. They were killing other Jewish kids. That's all my parents spoke about, because in those days everybody had family in Germany or in Poland, and they knew that Europe was just one big fire and it was all the same. Anyway, my captain, when I told my captain I wanted a combat outfit, just pointed that way. And quite a few guys did. It wasn't just me, you know, we were still romantic about war. And now I came into my combat outfit. These guys, as I said, were tough. They fought their way up from Africa. They were terrific guys. Like every one of them could have been my big brother or my father. And they were old men, you know, they were 25. And I was now a soldier in a combat outfit with a wheel gun. And when I got to my captain, who appeared there again, he looked at my record and he said, "Heavy weapons, you're a machine gunner. Get up there." One vehicle out of 4 had a 50 caliber machine gun on it. That's a bullet this big in that round. I never saw one before in my life. The captain, I took him training on this. He says, "Start training yourself, son. You're a machine gunner." What happened was, I have pictures of the tank here. The tank is built like this, and on top is the machine gun. So the average passenger in that tank had a wall of armor up to here. You wanted to get out, you had to stand up and climb out. But the machine gunner had his machine gun here, nothing here, just a machine gun, and the tank was only up to your belly button. There rest of you was exposed. That's why the job was over. But the guy who had the job decided he's going to change careers. So I was given the promotion, and he was down here. The assistant gunner was the guy that was the gunner before. Everybody considered that a promotion when you're not the one they're shooting at, you're behind the armor, that's a big promotion. So he was down here. His job was to feed the ammunition into my machine gun so that I could keep going if I had to, and he kept fed. It always amazed me that I was in the combat outfit for a couple of days, and I made private already. I got my promotion, some promotion. And then we went into the combat areas. In the combat areas, I still didn't know what was going on. I just knew I had to do what you're told. Bring yourself, get broadside with this guy, get this Kaplan. All hand signals, I never knew what was happening. Nobody did, except our officers, and they knew well. Now, an interesting thing, I'm fluent in the Yiddish language. That's a language that doesn't have a country. It's just a language that was born out of being in many countries. When I came into my outfit, one of their big problems was getting a place to sleep at night. They could sleep outside on the field, but who the hell wants that? We had all the equipment for it, but nobody wants to sleep on a field. You could sleep in a tank or in a vehicle, but that's a target. You know, when an enemy observer picks up his glasses and he sees an American tank standing there, he's not going to wait for you to get up. They fire. So, what these men were doing was going to German homes and telling them that they wanted lodging for the night. But how do you tell somebody when they don't speak English and you don't speak German? Difficult. Yiddish is akin to German. So when I came in, I saw them arguing with the inhabitants whose home they wanted to take over, and that's illegal by the rules of war. I could say to them, "Wir sind amerikanische Soldaten." We're American soldiers. Wie viele Betten haben Sie? How many beds you got? 17 years old. Wie viele Betten haben Sie? How many beds you got? 7 Betten? 7 beds? 7 amerikanische Soldaten do schlafen. Wo Mama and Papa schlafen? House. Where's Mama and Papa going to sleep? Where are my children going to sleep? With your neighbors. Well, just get out now. Tough as that, because this was the enemy. We had been shot at by them. We had heard a lot of stories as we traveled through that involved them. But we were good guys. We really didn't mistreat them. We wanted a place to sleep at night. Either they or we were going to sleep outside, and we had guns. That was our price of admission. However, for me, it was a big advancement amongst my peers. Because instead of them arguing, "God damn son of a bitch," I said, "Get out of here." What? I could say to them, "House." They say, "I have children." I say, "We have American telegraphs and telephones that are with us." We learned that expression from the Germans. Once you say that, the Amerikanische telephone and telegraph, everybody knows they got to get out. They don't argue with you. We have communication